your brain, you're in the nerds domain. Come on in, it's about to begin.
Hi, I'm Matt.
I'm John.
I'm Jestin.
I'm Shirley.
And welcome to the Nerds Domain podcast. This week we're going to talk about Samurai Rebellion. It's a Criterion collection. Yay!
Woo!
So, Jesse.
Yes.
Is the Criterion collection?
The Criterion collection is a continuing series of important classical and contemporary films on home video. They're on home video? We watch on
Yeah, it doesn't
Hulu
sound
Plus.
odd.
They're not really home video.
Criterion collection is considered the home video version, which includes streaming.
Huh.
Well, when this Criterion collection was put together, it was intended for home video release. Technology had moved on.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, and this is as opposed
Ta-da.
to theatrical release in the theater.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
I'm talking mostly to Jesse at
Right.
this point.
Yeah, because Jesse can't keep
It's actually, if you watch the intro, it tells you in front of every one of these movies, Janus has come up on anything like 65 and newer. Because the Janus company, or the Janus group, is releasing them theatrically.
Oh, okay.
It's the theatrical arm of the Criterion collection. If they release them again theatrically with the Criterion cut, which they don't always.
Which the Criterion cut's basically the director's cut, right?
Yes and no. Because a director's cut and a Criterion cut are different. But generally, yes. We'll go with that. So, what is Samurai Rebellion? According to IMDb, the mother of a feudal lord's only heir is kidnapped away by from her husband by the lord. The husband and his samurai father must decide whether to accept the unjust decision or risk death to get her back.
That is so freaking confusing.
It sounds so much better on paper.
All right, so let's start there. Did you guys enjoy the movie?
I did.
I did.
Yeah.
I honestly, I can blame a lot of mine on Hulu problems and watching it through a web browser, but I didn't enjoy it, and I'm not sure I'd have enjoyed it otherwise.
We did have that problem towards the end. When he's digging the hole, it got kind of funky.
Yeah.
But other than that, we didn't have any visual problems.
Well, as far as streaming and the internet service goes, that's fine. The visual problems in this film were once again the subtitles, where they obviously didn't intend this to be released in America with subtitles because they shot very light scenes, and then whoever did the subtitle put white letters on white background, and probably needs to just be beaten around the head and shoulders for being stupid.
I don't know if we've talked about this, but would you have preferred overdubbing, or would you just have preferred subtitles in the right?
Ooh, I hate overdubbing. It just, like, the lips and the word, subtitles are good for me.
Well, going back to my previous arguments for subtitles, I like to do other things besides, glue my eyes to the screen. So dubbing, while I definitely see the problem with it, dubbing would have, probably helped in this particular situation because there are a lot of scenes that are quiet and there's no movement to be watched. They're just sitting around talking.
Yeah.
So dubbing, while it would have definitely been off with the, words to mouth movement, it might have kept me more focused on it. I don't know. I kind of do, but I also acknowledge that overdubbing is not the best way to approach these, Japanese to English translations or whatever.
I am a fan of overdubbing. I grew up in a family who liked watching kung fu films and hated reading while they watch a movie. So I'm used to them talking out of sync.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have a preference. I whatever the translation, I'd like it to be accurate instead of kind of half-assed, which it is sometimes.
Sure.
We noticed that in Stolen Kisses there were some kind of iffy translations.
Right.
This is our third movie with clearly our favorite actor, Toshiro Mifune.
Yes.
Yes, I recognized him as well.
And he was in Seven Samurai and Sword of Doom.
Sword of Doom.
And that is one of the reasons I don't like this movie. I was so
Why?
disappointed in the ending. I really was.
Whatever.
Yeah, things happened that shouldn't have happened. I feel the story could have progressed a lot better if it went a different route.
Well, I disagree, but
Let's talk about the story and how it actually worked. So, who wants to go first?
I will.
Okay.
Okay, so we open in the Edo period of Japan, and there is a family whose name is eluding me.
Sasahara.
Sasahara, there it is. Who is a vassal of a daimyo? I never know how to pronounce that word. Basically, he's a lower lord under a more powerful lord, and his son is forced to marry the not concubine. That's not the right word either. Why am I
Mistress?
There you go. My words are failing me tonight. Maybe I shouldn't be talking. So the head of the Sasahara family, his son is forced to marry the mistress of the higher lord, because the high lord says so. And at first, of course, that causes some problems, and everybody wants to know, why should their family be burdened with this woman the Lord doesn't want anymore? And the rumors are that she physically assaulted the Lord, and that's a bad thing. And they feel like they're being punished, but they get married, and it turns out the son and the woman love each other, and everybody but the mother of the family, and I guess the brother to a certain extent, come around and start to like her. They have a kid of their own, and then the Lord sends his servant, his voice, basically, and because his primary heir has died, and the son of his mistress is now the heir to his seat of power, and it's in their culture that she cannot belong to another man.
And it is kind of important at that point to note that the emperor declared that. Like, that was a special order from the emperor that he had to take his wife back.
It was not a special order from the emperor. It was just the general rule of law.
Are you sure? Because they had that writer come in through the gate with a special order for the Lord.
No, it's been a month since I saw the movie, but what I remember is that it was not because he was going to take his case to the emperor. That was what the whole leaving the district arc was about. Was he wanted to get to the emperor to expose how cruel and corrupt his lord was being.
Okay, that makes sense.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but because, like I said, it's been a month. But I don't think it was a specific order. I think it was a general order. Like, this is the law. This is how things are done.
Okay.
And the Lord in the Sasahara family's opinion, the Lord should have overlooked it this one time, made an exception, and he wouldn't, and he was a jerk. And that was the conflict of the movie. That he demanded this woman back, even though she was happily married with a child who was still breastfeeding. That was a big point.
And the Lord had pushed her off to
right.
begin with.
He'd thrown her away, and now he was taking her back just because of political reasons. They were worried that she might be used as political leverage against the new heir to the seat of power, to the Lord's the Lord's heir could have been threatened by her, being out in the world.
Yeah.
Of course, so the father and son, the heads of the Sasahara family, then have to decide whether they're going to abide by these orders. The entire Sasahara clan is threatened by this because the Lord can revoke their standing and put them all to death because of the actions of these two men. So there's a lot of internal family politics going on and stuff. And then do we just want to go in and spoil the ending?
Yeah. Go for it.
in the end, the father and son do everything they can to distance themselves from their family and decide to fight the Lord and his men. And they are, and 20 guys are sent, and an epic sword fight happens in which the son and the wife are killed. So the head of the Sasahara family sets out with the young daughter in his arms, and who's just barely 6 months old, I guess, because she can start to eat rice. And they set out for the emperor to plead their case and try to get some justice for all the murders committed by the Lord. That is where the samurai rebellion comes into play. But unfortunately, they don't make it. He gets to the gate of the county, or the district, however you want to phrase that. And that's where we ran into the guy whose name you said earlier. Who's been
Mr. Sword of Doom.
Yeah, Sword of Doom guy. He is another samurai who agrees that the Sasaharas have been wrongfully abused, and their lord is in the wrong in all these instances. But honor dictates that he obey his lord, and his lord has closed the gate. So he and Mr. Sasahara have to duel it out. And Sasahara wins and kills him. But then soldiers with guns are set upon Sasahara, and he is shot dead. We get our last look at the child as the nursemaid who was hired after the mother was kidnapped has been following the grandfather the whole time, and picks her up and takes her off into the wilderness where we don't know what happens to her. And we're left with a very touching letter, I guess, voiceover, really, where the grandfather, Sasahara Sr., asks the child to remember her parents and the love that they shared, and in my opinion, a very touching moment. But since we don't get to see what happens to the girl, we don't know if justice was ever served. The end.
So, real quick point. Both the guy guarding the gate and the elder Sasahara are both in Sword of Doom.
Are they? Who is...
Yeah, the guy, the elder Sasahara is actually Toshiro Mifune, who was in Seven Samurai as well. He was the fool there.
The drunk one?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
okay.
really?
Or no, yeah. Yeah, so that was who I was talking about. That's the guy that's been...
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, then
the guy has only been two.
Sword of Doom wasn't in Seven Samurai?
Yeah, no, he was not.
Oh, my bad.
No, I would have recognized him.
Tatsuya Nakadai. He was only in Sword of Doom and
Samurai Rebellion. Okay.
So, sorry, I just wanted to make sure we pointed it out.
Yeah.
But so Jesse, you didn't like the movie?
I didn't like the ending. I didn't like the pacing.
What was wrong with the ending? Well, yeah, there was some stuff to do with the pacing. But what was wrong with the ending?
Well, they really set up the whole thing. He tells his friend, who he has to fight at the end, who he winds up killing, that if you kill me, you're going to be the godfather of this kid. You're going to raise this kid. I mean, he puts it on him, just lays it all out there right out front. That really kind of set it up to where I figured he was then going to win and be forced to watch this kid. And then the guy just gets gunned down. The serving lady runs off with the kid. There is no justice going to be done because the emperor might have listened to a samurai. Might have. He's not even going to give her the time of day. Especially not against another lord.
So your problem with the movie then is that it doesn't have a happy ending?
It doesn't have a resolution that I felt the movie was building up towards.
Okay. I guess I can. I mean, you're right. It doesn't.
I mean, I'm perfectly fine with sad movies. I like movies that end darkly, but I like them to at least build towards that. This didn't feel like it was going to be
Well, I think
it didn't build the correct way for the way the story ended up in my book.
See, on the other hand, I think this was a commentary on politics that they don't ever work for common man, and like just like the system sucks and all this stuff, and that like that was really the message. Like the system that they're dealing with sucks, and it's not right for anybody except those at the top, and they're jerks, and so. I was like I said, I was sad by the ending, and at first, my reaction was, oh, that ending sucked, and I was like, no, I kind of liked it, in that it had a message to me. I got something out of it, so I disagree. I thought it ended well. As long as you're willing to accept a sad, slightly unresolved feeling when you're done watching the movie.
So, Shirley, what'd you think?
I really liked it. I liked the storyline. Of course, I liked, I can't remember his name, but what I didn't understand is he kind of was like a sub-character to the main family. He didn't really lend any guidance. And
who are you talking about?
The actor that we saw in the other movies.
Isaburo? The father? The main...
No, the guy that was the cheeky guy in Seven Samurais.
Yeah, that's Isaburo Sasahara. He was the head of the Sasahara family.
No.
You mean
Mr.
Sword of Doom?
Is that who that is?
The evil guy in Sword of Doom was a different person than the one who was also in the Seven Samurai.
The guy guarding the gate to the west.
Okay.
Is that who you're talking about?
I'm not sure. It was the guy that was joking around with everybody all the time. He was the guy that was running around. They called him the kid.
In this movie?
No. In the previous movie. He was the...
Right.
He was the guy that... He was the... maybe you're right, Johnny. He was the guy that was guarding the gate at the end of the movie in this one.
Right. The guy that was guarding the gate at the end of the movie was the main character in Sword of Doom. Matt has corrected us and said he was not in Seven Samurai.
Oh.
Only the head of the Sasahara family was in all three movies.
Okay. Then I'm misremembering some movies, but he was also in another movie that we've watched where he kept joking around and nobody would take him seriously as a samurai.
With the huge giant sword?
Is that Sword of Doom?
No, that's
Seven Samurai. I think you're mixing your two guys up. It's okay.
Anyway.
Your point is you didn't like
I didn't
in this movie.
Yeah, I thought because they had the scenes with him, I thought that maybe he would be like that kind of advisor to the family or something, but they never really got that character very deep, into anything. Any of the scenes never really got that deep. It was just, regular scenes. And then at the end of the movie, they're standing at the gate and he's like, "You shall not pass." And I thought with the way that it felt like his character should have been attached to the family, that he would have let him pass. But, with honor being what it is or what it needed to be. So.
Okay.
But other than that, I really liked the story. I liked,
Hello?
I'm still here,
Shirley.
Oh.
I really liked the story. I don't have a problem with subtitles. I like movies with subtitles in them, so it didn't bother me that it had the subtitles. Other than that, I mean, I would give it like a 4, a 3, a 3.5, 4.
Hold on, we're not there
Oh,
quite there
sorry.
yet. No, it's okay. I was just looking for a generalized idea. So, Jesse, you said you had problems with the pacing.
Yes.
Would you like to expand on that?
It just felt off. I mean, I can't really put my finger on it, but it seemed like things didn't fall in. And I know it might be a culture thing, but I didn't like it.
No, I can definitely.
I like Seven Samurai. I like The Sword of Doom. This felt off.
Well, this literally was 20 minutes into the film before there was any sort of conflict. It was 20 minutes to half an hour before they revealed that the mistress, or why the mistress was being kicked out and forced to marry the son. Like, there was no exploration of that. No one talked about it. There was literally no conflict to be dealt with. It was just, here, marry this woman. Oh, I don't know if I want to, blah, blah, blah. And then finally, 20 minutes, half an hour into the plot, they're like, oh, this is the reason that she was kicked out. And this is the reason that we should care. And it was an hour into the film before, like, they revealed that she had actually struck the guy, the High Lord. And the reason she struck the High Lord was because he was an old fart who picked her up when she was really young. She was promised to somebody else, brought in just to have a baby. And the moment he found a younger, hotter, more politically advantageous woman, he dumped her and pushed her off on this other guy, threw her out like a piece of trash. That was like an hour into the film of this 2-hour movie before that plot point was revealed and we had a reason to have a conflict. So
I thought, so you're saying at the hour marker, hour into the movie, is when they were all having dinner and the mother is saying, well, you know, she attacked.
No, that was the half hour, the 20-minute half hour mark where that happened. It was an hour before the flashback scene with the son and daughter where they're preparing for bed, and she tells him that story. It was so it was,
But we already knew when the mother told.
We knew what the rumor was. The mother was like, "This is the story I was told," and that's that. And that they were like, "Well, we'll deal with that later," and they left it, and they just had the story. They just had some interactions between characters, and then wherein she proved to be a completely docile and proper wife to her new husband. She was, in every way she was proper. And so I'm sitting here for, like I said, about half an hour wondering why the heck would this woman get kicked out of the Lord's court? What did she do to piss him off? All I've got is the mother, who is a vindictive and, very harsh woman. She's heard a rumor, and that's all we've got to go on.
Right.
And, so that, to me, it took way too long to get to the point of the problem, which
I was. Go ahead.
I think that the pacing was very similar to Seven Samurai. The difference is there was no action or adventure to take place. Like in Seven Samurai, it was still slow and plotting, but they're doing stuff and they're doing stuff. In this one, it was slow and plotting, and they were talking the entire time.
Yeah.
In Seven Samurai, you knew why they were getting the samurai together and what their purpose was.
Yeah.
In this, it was like, why is this happening? Why am I watching this story? There is no conflict in this story. In Seven Samurai, you knew eventually there was going to be a sword fight.
Right.
There was no promise of a sword fight other than the poster. The cover.
I was seriously starting to think this was going to be the most talky samurai rebellion I'd ever seen.
Right.
Well,
it was a very talky samurai rebellion. I think
that hold on. Sorry, guys.
Sure.
So, I think that the pacing is very similar. I think that there was a difference in what was on the screen, and Masaki Kobayashi. Hey, look at that. He's the director. I think that his style is similar to Akira Kurosawa. The difference, honestly, and I'm not trying to downplay the director of this movie, was that he is not Akira Kurosawa. Akira Kurosawa has the ability to plod along but still move a story, and in this it just felt like there was no real movement. It was just, and we're still talking.
Yeah.
Did you notice we're still talking? Right. We're still talking. So
yeah, I agree. It may have been a flaw in the original script of the film. Like, I don't know, Seven Samurai is a story of legend. It's almost a myth in Japanese culture. I don't believe it actually, or at least it is nowadays. But like, Kurosawa didn't write that story, if my understanding is correct. It didn't write Seven Samurai himself. It was a story that's been told over and over. Whereas this one did not seem like it was that old and that well thought out and taken care of. Like, this may have been a guy's script that he wrote for a film, and they turned it into a movie. Whereas Seven Samurai was a legend that you had to tell right, or else it wasn't going to play.
Yeah.
So I'll see more films by this guy if they come up. But yeah, this film it didn't get into the story fast enough to hook me. It did in the end hook me, but it took a long time. So
Johnny, did you feel like this was a vampire story being told with the politics and how slow it was?
You're referring to the role-playing game Vampire.
Yeah, because I got that feeling.
Oh yeah,
when they were like, "Well, we're not being petitioned, but we're being petitioned," and they were like, "Well, we will counter petition with another petition about a petition."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh,
no, it
Lord.
was. It was all about it was self and politics, or self versus politics. It was this guy has a love. He's found the love of his life. He didn't know that's what she was going to be, but he's fallen in love and he's happy. And politics are dictating that the right way to do things is to dump her and move on with your life. And so it's man versus it's sort of man versus nature. There are three classic story types that almost every story can be shoehorned into: man versus nature, man versus man, and man versus self. This is sort of a man versus nature because the politics are how things are done. We get up, we breathe, we shower, we go to work. This story was about, like, that's the nature of reality for us nowadays. This guy's reality is the politics. You have to do what your Lord says because he's higher than you. They weren't even allowed to leave their county without their Lord's permission at this point in history. So rebelling against the Lord is like rebelling against the sun rising. You don't do that.
Yeah.
So that's what this story was. It was, do I do what's right for me, or do I do what's right for the greater good, and hold the status quo for my family who needs this political power. I mean, he literally held 15 other family groups. Had he done the wrong thing, 15 other families could have been murdered. So
hold on just a second, Johnny. I'm gonna step away for a second.
Are we pausing the recording?
Uh-oh.
Indeed.
Did we lose someone else, maybe?
Well, Shirley was having an issue. I don't know if it was... I thought she just couldn't come up with her thought, but...
Oh.
I hope we didn't upset her and talk over her too much or something. Oops. Quit doing that. Maybe she's having technical difficulties.
Maybe.
Hopefully, I didn't mean to piss her off. I was trying to let her have her thing.
Yeah.
But
She didn't sign out of Skype.
now she still seems to be connected, but
Yeah.
who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could have sworn after seeing this Samurai Rebellion that the Sword of Doom was in Seven Samurai.
No,
But he's not.
yeah, I didn't recognize him in there. And I didn't recognize this was the same guy until it closed in on his face there at the end.
Right, because
And it's like, oh, he's got the same eyes. Yeah, that's clearly.
Because they talk to each other at the beginning of the film with the straw dummies, and I was like, is that who I think it is? Nah. And then I went to IMDb and I was like, hell yeah, it is. And then he was out of the film, and I was like, oh, that's unfortunate. But they brought him back around, so.
Yeah.
But Wikipedia does use the word concubine.
Oh, does it?
Yeah. He calls her an ex-concubine. But anyway. Ooh, other films directed by this guy. Let's see what he's got. Nothing.
Nothing?
Oh, no, here we go.
That's unfortunate.
Well, no, it was a drop-down that didn't go, and it didn't have anything under the drop-down, so I clicked his name. And his name gives me more. But for some reason, the drop-down didn't.
The Sword of Doom guy has been in a lot of movies.
Yeah, he's one of the most active Japanese actors. He's still alive today and still working, if I remember correctly.
Wikipedia says his last movie was this year. Yeah.
Yeah, he was doing TV shows, playing old men on TV shows a lot. And yeah, he did have a movie out.
I'd like to see his new one.
It'd be interesting just to compare. See what he's done, see what's happened to him. But he's from what I've read, very well respected.
Yeah. I can always bring him out of time. Hey, what's up?
Sorry about that. I don't know. My computer is a piece of stuff.
Okay.
So
Windows 8 is awesome.
We were worried we were over talking you and pissed you off. So.
Oh no, not at all.
Okay.
So sorry about that.
Shirley? Did you figure out what you were going to say?
Yeah, I knew exactly what I was going to say. I was just having problems.
Well, that's okay. Do you want to start with that? We'll come back in and we'll start with that.
Well, what was Johnny needs to finish what he was saying.
I did. I was pretty good.
Okay.
Before Matt came back to do whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Sorry. I want to.
Did you pause the recording or did you?
I didn't, only because it's Pamela and it makes it a pain in the ass.
Sure.
So I know where I stopped, and I'm going to say start.
I say no editing, just live the hard drive. Let's just do this.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm gonna say start, and then Shirley, you're gonna get right back into what you're saying. Okay. Start.
This you guys are talking about like the length and how long it took, and did any of you watch Memoirs of a Geisha?
No.
I
wanted to, but it was just one.
There's one part in the she has to go through she has to put on a show to show her prominence as a geisha. It's just part of her training and upbringing as a geisha.
Prove you learned something.
Right.
Yeah.
And the whole length of the performance that she puts on, it very much reminded me, this movie very much reminded me of that. It felt like, all of that Japanese tradition that is, they have the tea tradition. They had the tradition in the movie of Memoirs of a Geisha of the performance that she had to put on. It's very lengthy and drawn out, but it tells a story. And I guess once I started watching Samurai Rebellion, and I kind of that's where my mind settled. My mind clicked into, oh, you know what? It's part of this. It's part of their long tradition, or they're making it into to a not a ritual. What is it called?
Routine.
Yeah.
I totally get it.
Part of that. So I guess the length of it didn't bother me as much as it might have bothered somebody. But I think we've also been programmed into, like action, 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 drama, 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 action, action, action. And we as a culture, we've kind of forgotten how, the script can lend a lot to the movie as well.
Oh, I completely agree with that. With that thought. Yeah, I completely agree with you on that thought that they were establishing. I mean, the slow parts were really establishing the political aspect. That's what Matt and I were talking about while you were disconnected there. There's a lot of politics in this movie,
right?
And that's the main driving force behind this is politics. He equated it to a vampire the Requiem game, role-playing game, where it's all about politics. And I you're right. We have a very different culture from when this movie was made, being that it was made in '67 in Japan, and we are 2013 in America. Very different. So it was establishing that the way of life and the way things were. But from what you described in Memoirs of a Geisha, which I have not seen, if I recall what I've been told about the film, the story is like part of her training as a geisha is core to the conflict of the whole movie. It's a love story, right? If I'm
yeah. I mean,
okay, yeah. So her being a geisha and being trained is taking her away from the potential for that love life. Is that
no?
Okay, then I don't. Then like I said, I didn't watch it, but her involvement in being a geisha, becoming a geisha, is core to the conflict. Whereas and so her learning and performing like that is it's showing how good of a geisha she is. Whereas the day in the life stuff that we're seeing in Samurai Rebellion lacked the importance to the plot. Maybe it established that these people are normal people, that they are studious people, that they do what they're told. They obey the rules and the law of the Lord, but until this happens, and then they have a problem. But
right.
So it does. You're right. You're not wrong about what you said. I just think that they could have introduced the plot about why is the Lord kicking her out and what actually happened. Could have been done in the first 20 minutes, and then I would have been more invested in the rest of their life through the film. That's how I would change. That's how I would change it. Is do those two scenes right away, and then get into okay, well, now we've settled into this routine. We've had a kid. We're happy together, blah, blah, blah. So.
Well, I think that part of it for me was when we started watching this, I immediately thought, oh, this was shot in the 60s. This is going to be 60s pacing.
Yeah.
And so the rest of the movie didn't, it felt long, but it didn't bother me. I think Jesse, I don't think you were prepared for that in the same way.
Quite possibly.
Assuming you're still there.
I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here.
We didn't lose you like the movie did we?
No.
Well, I think that's the thing that one of the things that I'm learning from watching all these Criterion movies, to kind of wrap this into the whole reason we're doing it, is that every decade and even sometimes shorter time periods than that have a very specific style, and I think the same thing goes for a cultural style too. This is the third movie we've seen with samurai in it?
Yeah.
Fourth?
Third.
And I think there's a very definite Japanese style for how they direct things.
Yeah.
And part of it is their culture. We don't necessarily understand 100%, especially since a lot of this stuff is taken, in the 1700s and before, where we really don't get their culture.
It's the 60s retrospective on the 1700s. in Japan.
So I think that's part of it, but I don't know. The pacing didn't bother me. I noticed it, but it didn't bother me nearly as much. I think it bothered. It doesn't sound like it bothered you, Johnny.
No.
But you were very aware of it. Same thing with you, Shirley.
I would say.
Sorry,
I would say that it definitely injured my opinion of the movie. Lessened it. But in the end, I still did like this movie. If I could go back and edit it myself, I would do things differently.
Yeah.
Because and I guess I'll just end it with the flashback. So the father and son have the house to themselves. The son tells a story about their first night together after they've been married. So the son is flashbacking, and then the wife is flashbacking to why the Lord kicked her out. And that bugs the crap out of me. Like,
a flashback within a flashback.
Right, yeah. Have the conversation between the husband and the wife when it's supposed to happen. And then the son can tell the father the story
right.
later. That's the big edit I would make. And that would be it. That
would be the second big edit. You would edit out all the first 55 minutes of it so you could get to the conflict.
Well, because I'd put the mother hates the wife because of this within 7 or 8 minutes of the opening, and then the conversation between the husband and wife within the first 20 minutes of the movie, and then go from there.
Fair enough.
I don't have a lot of things to base this off of, but when I do rate it, I rate it against things like The Sword of Doom and The Seven Samurai that we have watched, and this just doesn't hold a candle to either of them.
This is no Seven Samurai, I'll agree. I really liked Seven Samurai. I still stand by that, and I really would like to go back and see it again. I just don't have 3 years of my life to set aside for that.
Just watch The Magnificent Seven. It's shorter.
I really do want to watch Magnificent Seven, and then I want to watch Bug's Life, because I want to watch the interplay between the three.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So
that would be a good, retrospective kind of thing.
And we might do that sometime in the future for I guess it would be part of the Criterion Collection. Looking back, maybe when we hit 15 or 20 or 30 of these, we can look back on it.
If our listeners would like us to do that, leave a comment or send us an email, so that we know that there's actually interest in doing that. Because
otherwise we'll just do whatever we want. It would also help us know that we have listeners. That would be great. No, we know we have listeners, all 4 of you, besides the 3 of us that download these. So
I was like, what other person is listening except for us?
So Shirley, why don't you give us a star rating, since you kind of already did it, but go ahead and do it again.
Story as a whole, really good. The length of the movie, I mean, it could have been a little shorter. It seemed like there was some things in there that really didn't lend to the story that we were being told of the movie. So, all that being said, I would give it like a 3.5 out of 5.
Okay. Johnny?
I did like this movie. Like I said, I've talked at length about the story. The editing could have been tighter and better. So I give it a solid 3 with a good recommendation. I won't go 3.5, but it's a solid 3. It's definitely worth watching, especially if you're into film history in any way. Just seeing what came before. It's worth watching.
Okay. Jesse?
I would give it a 1. I would possibly give it lower, but I'm willing to give some of my problems to Hulu in my technical difficulties. I wasn't that interested in it. I wasn't that thrilled.
I would give it personally a 4. I think if you are a fan of Vampire, either the Masquerade or the Requiem, and you really want to see how politics should work in that world, watch this movie. It was, we're not making a formal request, but you're going to do it. And to which they officially petitioned for something they hadn't been asked to do to not have to do that. Yeah. There's this interplay between, this person has all of the right to just come in and take whatever they want. How can you get around that? And I really like that interplay. I think that you have to watch this movie with the fact that it was filmed in the 60s and in Japan. You have to keep that in mind. And that the director, I'm not saying is a bad director, just has a very slow, plodding way about how he handles it. I think if you keep those things in mind, this movie is quite enjoyable. So, what did I say, 4?
I don't remember if you gave
it.
it.
You said 4.
Okay, yeah.
4.
So definitely a 4 out of 5. You know, not something you got to rush out and see, but if you can get past the 1960s style and the Japanese of the 1960s style, I think this movie's great. So, anything else you guys want to say?
If you want to watch a 1960s movie that was better, I suggest The Blob.
That was actually
59. Close enough.
Okay. So, real quick before we go, I want to remind you guys, we have another podcast out there. It's called Masks of Gnarltep. It's where the Nerds Domain Cthulhu crew gets together and we play a little bit of Call of Cthulhu. I highly suggest you check it out. It's a lot of fun for us, and it seems to be a lot of fun for our listeners. So that will do us tonight for Nerds Domain Podcast. You can always send us an email at nerdsdomain@gmail.com. I'm at Quiet, Johnny is at Foolsmask, Shirley is at SNed70, and Jesse is at J_Kimmett, or you can find the website at Nerds Domain. You can also find us over at our website at nerdsdom.com, nerdsdom.com, where we post reviews Monday through Friday and occasionally stuff on the weekends. You'll also find our show notes there for this podcast and our other one. And we want to thank Josh Shaw for the music. And we want to remind you to head over to /loot to order some shirts. That's tinyurl.com/ndshirts. And we will talk to you guys real soon.